So a while ago, it was discussed what sort of nerfs we would see to the Vigilante 2249. Unfortunately, we weren't given statistics then. Instead, we were given what they wanted to target specifically, and we were supposed to just wait until it actually happened to see exactly how far they went in each of these categories in their nerf. And I made a video discussing this nerf and how, with even their own limitations on what they want to address specifically, how far they would need to go for it to actually work. With their own limitations, it seemed that the way that they wanted to address it being the best light tank in the game was making it work not like a light tank anymore, with moving camouflage effectiveness being decreased, but its stationary staying the same, which means, unlike any other light tank, it's going to have worse moving concealment to its still concealment, whereas light tanks at tier 10 have the same moving and still concealment values. No longer will that be the case. This is something I don't think they should even do, as it breaks consistency of the game itself. But it was on their list of changes. Also on their changes was adjusting the ricochet angles to increase the chance of bouncing shells, which is okay, and adding the gun module housing to the vulnerable HP pool, which is also fantastic. The other biggest thing was clip size reduced. And we had said that this needs to be around 48 to 60 shells in the clip for it to be somewhat balanced, if that's all we're touching on the gun. If the damage is staying the same, if the intro clip is staying the same, we need to drop it down to where it cannot kill most tanks in one clip. So, with all that being said, these aren't the correct nerfs to do in the first place, but they could have still made it work. And now, the nerfs are coming out on Tuesday, and we have the exact values of the nerfs. So now let's take a look at those and see whether or not they have succeeded in nerfing the Vigilante. And let's just say, no, they have not. So as you can see with the values, we now know what the clip size is going to be. And it is nowhere near where it needed to be. It is only 130. And let me be clear, I don't think that the clip size should have actually been nerfed in the first place. What they should have nerfed was the damage values and the intro clip. Instead, they have decided to just do a lazy nerf to the clip size and hope that it's enough. But it's not enough, because with this clip size nerf, you're going from 4800 damage in 4 seconds to 3250 in 3 seconds. You're still one clipping other light tanks, grills, Tyrans, shit barns, any heavy tank you can pen from the rear. You're still one clipping tier 10s. This doesn't solve anything. It really sucks when we finally get a nerf after so long. Last nerf for a premium tank was the Armadillo way back in 2021 or something like that. And when you nerf something, you already know you're going to piss off your paying customers who think that they deserve overpowered tanks because they gave you money. There are plenty of players who think things should never be nerfed because they bought them in their state. Which then I would argue things should never be buffed then if that's the case. If you buy a shit tank and you want it to be buffed, sorry, we can't nerf things, so we can't buff them either. But no, of course not. Buffing is an exception, apparently. Regardless of that, if you're going to nerf things and you're going to offer the refund because you know you're going to piss people off, then at least do a proper nerf to appease the crowd that wanted the nerf in the first place. I don't think anybody who is calling for a nerf to this vehicle is going to see a clip size reduction from 4800 damage to 3250 and think, oh yeah, you did the right thing, Wargaming. No. Nobody is that dense. Nobody's that stupid. And so with this nerf right off the bat, just from the clip size alone, you've appeased neither crowd. A crowd already existed that was not happy with the state of the Vigilante T249. I was part of that crowd. I wanted actual nerfs. You nerf the vehicle now, and just the word nerf alone is going to make people upset. And those people are going to ask for refunds. And you're going to give it to them. But you've appeased neither crowd. So I really don't understand what was the point of this. I don't know if Super Test needs some better gamers in there, or if you need to actually listen to your Super Test, because I don't know what they said. But there was only one thing added to this list from the previous list where we had no values, and that is terrain resistance nerfs. Yet another thing that wasn't necessary and doesn't change the power of the vehicle. If we look at all the other things that were nerfed, we do have the moving concealment factor nerfs, which Zoran was kind enough to give us the value in meters from 297 to 334. The gun module housing, now part of the health pool of the tank. No values to really state for that. They are just what it is. What it is. Camo loss when firing, another value going down. Ricochet angle from 90 degrees to 70 degrees. There are only 2 nerfs here that are proper nerfs, that are helpful nerfs, and that is the gun module housing and the ricochet angle. Everything else is unnecessary, uncharacteristic of a light tank in the case of the moving concealment, and doesn't change the power of the vehicle in the clip size. So, if you're part of the crowd that hates hearing the word nerf, let me just tell you, if you truly only bought this vehicle for the power of the vehicle, your power still exists. So if you like the fact that you can clip out other light tanks, grills, Terrans, you can still do that. Do not request a refund. Your tank is still broken. If you're part of the crowd, though, that only hears the word nerf and doesn't care how nerfed it is, you think a nerf is a nerf, well then get your refund unnecessarily, because the tank, like I just said, is still broken. And of course, if you're part of the crowd like myself, that was hoping this tank would get nerfed, well, sorry to say it, but this isn't a nerf. This is a slap on the wrist and doesn't change anything. I really don't know what we're scared of either to actually make a proper nerf to a vehicle. The best thing about it is if you properly nerf the vehicle, there could have been some buffs to the vehicle, and then you could overall called it a change, right? Like an overhaul to the vehicle instead of just an outright nerf. But instead, you've decided to do only nerfs and not proper nerfs. Another thing I find interesting and funny is it was stated back when the T249 was released that it can't get an overheat mechanic because in real life, it had a clip-based system, and that's what they wanted to show in-game. And yeah, it had 192 in the clip and 3000 RPM when shooting in the air. And so somehow realism didn't get us our overheat mechanic. And now that clip size is no longer realistic at 192, instead it's 130. So if we're willing to change the clip size, then we should be willing to change the intra-clip if we're no longer sticking to that inherent realism, right? I never liked the realism argument in the first place, so the only reason I'm bringing it up is to tear it down in the first place. So if we're breaking the 192 clip size, then why can't we double the intra-clip, put it back to 192, right? Double the intra-clip so that it takes double the time to dump the mag, and of course, lower the damage. You can have 192 mag size still. There's no need to reduce that. You can still have that. The gun just has to do 5 to 8 damage instead of 25 damage for it to be balanced. And doubling the intra-clip, like I've stated before, not only benefits the person you're shooting at to have more reaction time, but also benefits the user to not spend too many rounds than they might have otherwise wanted to. They have more control over it because it's slightly slower firing. Instead, this is what you get. You get one of the most laziest, unhelpful nerfs I've seen. There were so many options to properly nerf the vehicle because what made the tank overpowered? The fact it could clip out people in such little time, like other light tanks and paper tanks, and even some heavy tanks if you got to their rear. They were done for in 2 seconds. So how do you address that? You don't just drop the clip size, Wargaming. This, to me, shows a true lack of understanding of what made the tank powerful in the first place and how the game works in general. And I know that's probably wild for me to say as a player to the devs, but after playing the game for so long, how do you explain this from a dev's point of view that this is the proper way to nerf the vehicle? Your clip damage stays above 3,000, and somehow that is supposed to address being able to just dominate and kill people in seconds? No. It's still a thing. The only thing they seemingly addressed hard here is its camo. but it still has great still concealment, the best on a tier 10 light tank, and 410 meters base view range. So truly, I'm baffled by this. I really don't know how this got past super test. I really don't know how this, from a developer balance team design point of view, is even like the way to go. I don't understand how you nerf the vehicle but seemingly hold back from doing it right. Most of these seem like you try to address like fringe elements of the power of the vehicle to try your best to be like, hey, if we just make it less like reliable, maybe people will say this is a good nerf. But the tank already has low penetration and was still overpowered. So it doesn't matter what you do to the rest of the vehicle. 3250 in 3 seconds is still broken. Are we not understanding that, Wargaming? Are we not understanding the power of the vehicle? It does not matter how limited you make 3250 in 3 seconds feel with bad camo, low pen, ricochet angles now. It does not matter. 1100 HP. You still will kill grills. You still will kill other light tanks. You still will kill shit barns, Terrans, medium tanks, heavy tanks from the rear. You will still kill them all in 2 seconds. Can we address that? And it's not like we're changing our tone and what we wanted from the nerf. This is what we've been saying since the beginning of the tank's release. Wargaming's just not listening. 130 clip size does nothing. If you're one of the players that are going to ask for a refund, you have 30 days starting Tuesday to submit a customer support ticket and get your gold back. For everyone else though, enjoy your 130 clip size. Enjoy still being able to dominate other light tanks and paper vehicles because nothing has changed. So enjoy still running around in your T249 because I have never seen a premium tank be nerfed twice. I don't know if it's ever happened, but ever since I've been paying attention to the game, it has not. And I don't know if the T249 is actually going to break that precedent. I would love to see it though, because with that precedent break, you can actually buff this vehicle in some cases, like reverting the clip size nerf that you're about to do to it, reverting the moving concealment nerf you're about to do to it, reverting the camo loss when firing nerf you're about to do to it, and the terrain resistances nerf you're about to do to it. You can revert all of that, and instead give it 380 meters view range, and give it 0.04 inch clip and 5 damage around with 110 millimeters of penetration. And there you go. You have balanced the vehicle. It can no longer kill everything it wants to in one magazine. Notice here too, they didn't buff the reload time, thank goodness, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. This was another unscripted video. You could probably tell, but this frustrates me to no end. In other news, though, also on Tuesday, the tech tree line for the Chinese heavy tanks are coming out. So look forward to that, I suppose, as your way of playing on Tuesday. Good news and bad news, right? On Tuesday. Thank you for watching, though, and I'll see you later. Take care.